What you gon' do now? Hope you're ready, 'cause I'm really about to put it down. Never disrespect you. Tomorrow, but tonight I won't respect you. Last year, gotta make it last year. But I'm hoping I'ma be your best girl. I was let you know. Tell you just to gotta get low. Back away from the door. From the Lord, following me. I'm starting now, there ain't no stopping here. It's all about here. They can come and watch you sin. They gotta leave us alone. Turn away from the door. I want it all. Gotta let me get it on. From the bed to the floor, against the wall. I'ma get it on. Turn around and hit it all. Maybe tell them it's on. Away from the door.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, Dream Team? Dream Team, we're here. What's going on? What's going on? Man, a new motion just dropped. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't like it. I ain't gonna lie. I don't like the new motion. I think it's vague. I think it's just what it is. I think it's a flop. I think it's a waste of money. That's just my opinion. Nobody else's fact. My opinion. And when I can have my opinion, that's just what I think about it. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can shake my head like, damn. So, not giving nobody no false hopes. But we gonna get into it and we're gonna read it. Play something real quick to lift the mood. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad. That's like the move for me. You could tell me that the sky was purple, and I say, wow, you're right. Round the side. Tell me that the sun was shining in the middle of the darkest night, and I say, yeah, you're right. And went and got that little funky ass job. When you want yourself that little funky ass car. Now, can't nobody tell you nothing. I don't see. I'm gonna say shout out to all the mods. Shout out to Mona, Faces and Beyond, EJ, Blue Blazers, Miss Bougie, Lana, Nisi, Toy, Miss Lady T, Charlotte Bennett, Nikki M, EJ, Sabrina, Michelle, and everybody that I missed so far. But we gonna get into it. You done let this shit go straight to your head. I was there when you need somebody. Now you want wanna act a fool. Well, I hope you on your face, your face. I hope you fall on your face, your face, your face. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad. I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad. You are the. All right, let's get into it real quick because I ain't gonna hold y'all long tonight, but I will be back to talk about this in the AM. So it's the United States of America, Robert Kelly versus. What a typo. What a typo. See, Greenberg should strike this because it's not even a valid motion. It's not even a valid order. This is making Robert look bad. The typos are crazy. This is I'm sorry, y'all, but it gets to a point where you don't expect lawyers to make these type of mistakes. I'm sorry. This is unacceptable. Very unacceptable. I'm just let's read it. Defendant's reply in support of his motion for the immediate setting of an evidentiary hearing for an order requiring the appearance of witnesses at that hearing and to supplement his pending motion for release from custody. Defendant Robert Kelly, by and through his undersigned counsel, submits this reply in support of his motion for an evidentiary hearing for an order requiring the appearance of witnesses at that hearing and to supplement his pending motion for release from custody, and states as follows. The government has offered nothing to rebut Mr. Kelly's motion for release from custody. Despite the government's repeated refrains, it still not has come forward with any sufficient basis to support Mr. Kelly's continued detention. More to the point, it has failed to demonstrate that there are no conditions or combinations of conditions that can assure his appearance before this court, and that there are no conditions or combination of conditions that can adequately address his alleged but unsupported danger to the community. With respect to his purported risk of flight, the undisputed facts remain that 1, Mr. Kelly has absolutely no history of ever failing to appear before any court. Number 2, Mr. Kelly has an unblemished history of appearing before every court as was required. Number 3, Mr. Kelly has an unblemished history of complying with all conditions of release in all prior proceedings. Number 4, Mr. Kelly made no attempt to flee in connection with the present matter, despite being on notice of the government's investigation into him for a substantial period of time. Number 4, Mr. Kelly has no... Wait a minute, it's 2 number 4s? Oh, Jesus. Mr. Kelly has no means to flee. 5, Mr. Kelly has no passport to support his flight. 7, which should be 8. Mr. Kelly has a well-documented fear of flying. Number 8, which should be 9. Mr. Kelly has nowhere to flee to. And number 9, which should be 10. If Mr. Kelly, who is an international recognized figure, ever attempted to flee, he would be noticed and recognized immediately. Nonetheless, the government continues to repeat and regurgitate its wildly unsupported and worn-out theme that Mr. Kelly is a flight risk. However, there is no basis for it, except for the government's own hyperbole. with respect to the issue of Mr. Kelly's alleged danger to the community that is similarly baseless. Not only is Mr. Kelly presumed innocent, he has no criminal history. That alone makes him dissimilar to the defendants who are regularly released from detention in this district prior to trial. Mr. Kelly should be treated no differently than them because of his stardom. Moreover, the allegations against Mr. Kelly are extremely dated, and the government took no action against Mr. Kelly for years, indeed decades, prior to bringing this case. Accordingly, the government's position that Mr. Kelly, a middle-aged man with no history of violence, somehow now presents a danger to the community and is completely undermined by its own long-standing failure to intervene and charge Mr. Kelly. The record evidence demonstrates that the MCC has not and cannot keep Mr. Kelly safe. Here, it remains undisputed that the MCC has not and cannot keep Mr. Kelly safe. Nonetheless, in its response to government's attempts, including by way of affidavit, to minimize the recent attack upon Mr. Kelly, this is particularly ironic. Indeed, if Mr. Kelly had perpetrated an act of violence against one of his fellow detainees, there can be no doubt that the government would seize upon it as a basis for his continued detention. In any event, at best for the government, an unresolved issue remains as to whether MCC personnel encouraged and then allowed a beating of Mr. Kelly to take place. That alone merits an evidentiary hearing. In fact, the videotape produced and relied upon by the government demonstrates that no one at the MCC raised a finger to stop Mr. Farmer from attacking Mr. Kelly until after Mr. Farmer was well into beating Mr. Kelly. Number two, Mr. Farmer roamed a great distance within the MCC before carrying out the act without any opposition. It is undisputed that, as a result, Mr. Kelly has suffered significant physical and psychological injuries. Moreover, the notion advanced by the government that this court should just not get involved to ensure Mr. Kelly's safety is ludicrous and without basis or precedent. Here, judges within this district have routinely and repeatedly taken into account the conditions of confinement as a basis from release from custody prior to trial. In fact, the ongoing COVID-19 crisis and the inability of the MCC and federal detention facilities across the country has served as a basis for pretrial release in literally dozens, perhaps hundreds of instances. The threat posed to Mr. Kelly by the conditions of his confinement are no less real than any of those instances. In any event, the government should not be allowed to skirt the evidentiary hearing that has been necessitated by the recent attack upon Mr. Kelly, although the government clearly wants to avoid this court's inquiry into that issue. It is needed. The conditions of Mr. Kelly's confinement make it impossible for him to meaningfully prepare for trial and assist in his counsel's preparation for trial. The government wants this court to continue to ignore the fact that we are all in the midst of a pandemic and that the consequences of that pandemic have permeated all aspects of Mr. Kelly's and his fellow detainees. Conditions of confinement at the MCC for months now. Mr. Kelly has almost been completely denied the ability to prepare for trial, much less meet with and communicate with his attorneys. Because of the lockdown, like conditions at the MCC arising out of the pandemic, Mr. Kelly's inability to prepare for trial has been exacerbated by his inability to read. Thus, a perfect storm in favor of the government has thus been created. This court should not continue to tolerate this state of affairs, particularly in light of the need to move this case to trial. And more importantly, because of the fundamental unfairness this causes to Mr. Kelly's due process and trial rights. Jesus, yo. Wherefore, Mr. Kelly, by and through his undersigned attorneys, respectfully requests the entry of an order granting his release from custody pending trial with conditions for an evidentiary hearing with respect to the conditions of his confinement at the MCC, including his safety, and for such other and further relief as is appropriate and warranted. Respectfully submitted by S. Michael I. Leonard, counsel for Mr. Kelly. Have a problem with this. And when let's go. Yes, this is the new motion, and I have a problem with this. And with this, I'm saying it's crazy because why would you ask for release and New York already said no? This put me in a whole nother place. Because what if Chicago come back and grant a release? He's gone to Chicago. He's gone from Chicago. He will be in New York because New York will not hesitate to come pick him up. And this motion just seems like it's a waste of time. That's to me. It's nobody else. It just seems like a waste of time. And I say that because it's like it was rushed and thrown together. This right here, what is this? This is an improper preparal for motion. This is not how you do a motion. This is a no-no. But if Lemonwell would say, you know what, I'm tired of dealing with this, I'm gonna go ahead and grant him a release. He will be in New York within probably like that day. So he'll be leaving one to go somewhere else because New York said no. And what will happen is Chicago will lose jurisdiction, and New York will have first jurisdiction, which they have first case. However, we're not finished. I want to go here. I want to revisit something. I want to revisit something. And what I want to revisit is this right here. Stop screen. Share screen. Go back. Here we go. I want to revisit something because I'm gonna sleep on that motion because what I want to say, I don't want to open up and say because it's nothing nice. But I want to say this. I want to revisit this. Dear Judge Donnelly, the government respectfully submits this letter in connection with the above referenced matter. At the status conference held on September the 29th, 2020, the court proposed a trial date in January 2021, but defense counsel advised that they had a conflict with the court's proposed schedule. Since then, the parties have consulted and identified a date for trial that works for all the parties. However, it is not clear whether any of the lawyers representing the defendant has discussed the agreed upon trial date with the defendant. What? And confirmed that the defendant consents to to the exclusion of time on the speedy trial clock. What the hell? One of the defendant's lawyers, Stephen Greenberg Esquire, has advised that he intends to speak with the defendant tomorrow about the proposed trial date. However, given that some time has now elapsed from the speedy trial clock since the status conference held on September 29, 2020, that defense counsel rejected a January 2021 trial date, and in light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which effectively prevents a trial prior to January 2021, the government respectfully requests that the court exclude time between today's date and January the 4th, 2021 from the speedy trial clock. In the interest of justice, defense counsel consents to this request. What? What up, Brooke? What up, Brooke? What up, everybody that's coming in late? It's not making sense to me. And a lot of stuff that I'm seeing, I don't like. It just seemed like people are scared, are unprepared, and a bunch of bullshit. So with me seeing this, then I'm gonna go here. I got one more. And before I say what I'm about to say, I'm gonna go here. United States versus Robert Kelly. United States versus Robert Kelly. It says, Dear Judge Donnelly, as the attorneys for Roberts versus Kelly, we write asking the court to reconsider this court's sealing of its order for an anonymous and sequestered jury. We are asking that the order be made public, specifically on October the 8th, 2020. This court granted the government's motion to impanel an anonymously and impartially sequestered jury. Docket number 79. The docket reflects that the order was sealed. The court did not make any on the record findings that sealing is necessary to preserve higher values. United States versus Amadeo. Mr. Kelly would note that the government's original motion, his response, and the government's reply were all not sealed. He would also note that neither party had requested that this court seal its order. Finally, he would note that there is a presumption of access that attaches to all documents that are a part of the court record. Brown versus Maxwell. Mr. Kelly does not believe that this court's order regarding the impaneling of the jury should be sealed and requests that it does not remain sealed. Sincerely, Steve Greenberg. So y'all want to put, man. It's not many times that I'm stuck for words. Why was TR really in Chicago? Red flags, take heed. TR. 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 This is very frustrating. I'm beyond red flags. I'm starting to see something else. And I don't like it. Okay. No, but Joshua, this is not a this. You shouldn't see. It's a lot that I want to say that I can't say. This is what I'm gonna say. Look, y'all, and before I come to y'all with anything half-ass, I want to say, can we hold off until 10:30 in the morning? I want to sleep on it. I want to. I want to prepare for this because what I'm seeing, I shouldn't be seeing, and what I'm feeling, I shouldn't be feeling. And I know I'm not the only one that feel this. I'm not the only one that feel this way. Yes, we had a time today. We did. We had fun, and we got to get back at people. But fuck all that from today. This is something worse that I'm seeing and that I'm feeling. And it's playing out right before our eyes. It's playing out before our eyes. And the real players are here. But nobody is paying attention. G-Joy, that's not true. That's not true. Because we pray anywhere. I know I do. I pray anywhere. I don't care who think what about me. I don't care. I don't got to be in private. I'm a real guy. I love God for real. I get prayers through for real. I don't play with him. But this right here, hey, Justice is my. But this right here, I'm thinking something different. I'm feeling something different. I'm not feeling the same aura that I felt from emotion that I should have been reading. It's not making sense to me. And it's not normal that I'm stuck for words. It's not normal that I got to face the music and look at it for what it is. As hard as I felt, and as hard as I fought for this council to stay, the first day in my life, I'm starting to second guess myself. The first time in this trial, I'm starting to second guess myself. I'm actually looking at the devil in his face as he's raising up his hand. I don't know. I don't know. Something's not right. Somewhere. And my prayer tonight is for the Lord to show me everything. Whether I can handle it or not, show me everything. That's my prayer tonight. Open my eyes and show me what's really going on. Pretty much sort of omens. Give me sight. Beyond sight. I need to see in the retrospect. Because right now, what I see, I'm not liking. So I'll be back at 10:30. Everything I had planned, I'm going to back that up. We ain't going to talk about the Jonesboro woman tomorrow. We're going to talk about R. Kelly. This is more important than the Jonesboro people. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. And I'm going to say this real quick. Cedric Bentley, I'm not going to get into it with you. I'm going to say this. I speak in authority. And when I speak, I mean what I say. So, Cedric, listen to me, brother. And I want you to hear me real well. Mind your business. The business I have with that lady husband don't have nothing to do with you, her, or nobody else. And I'm going to leave it there. Mind your business. And that's all I would say about that. So I'm going to get off here because I need to think about this. I need to sleep on this. Because some things I can talk about and some things I can't. So I'll see y'all at 10:30 in the morning. Y'all be blessed. Thank y'all for staying up with me tonight. Dana J out.